So let's talk about security. So
Yeah.
um, it started with this. This came. Let me pop this article up. This is from ABC. Apple to scan U.S. phones for images of child sexual abuse. Um, so let's see. They unveiled plans to scan U.S. iPhones for images of child sexual abuse, drawing applause from child protection groups, but raising concern among some security researchers that the system could be misused, including by governments looking to surveil their citizens. The tool designed to detect detected known images of child sexual abuse, called Neural Hash, will scan images before they are uploaded to iCloud. If it finds a match, the image will be reviewed by a human. If child pornography is confirmed, the user's account will be disabled and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children notified. So right off the bat, it's like, you know, it's in a good a good direction. It's a good the meaning behind it is great. Like, I would love to stop this stuff, right? This is a problem, like you just stated. We have a problem, right? So how do we go about fixing it without losing our privacy? And there's a delicate balance here. And this feels like, on the surface, it's like, yeah, of course, I don't want that stuff being shared. But then, you know, I don't know. It's like, I'm gonna have kids soon, right? I want to have kids, and I'm gonna have to take pictures. I'm probably gonna take millions of pictures of my kids because I'm so excited about it. But
I'd
is
be
it
mad
gonna
if you
be
didn't.
what's up?
I'd be mad if you didn't.
Yeah, thanks. Well, it's gonna happen. But I don't want to, like, I have an iPhone and I cannot wait to get rid of it because I don't trust these big tech companies. Um, it's like, not that I would ever have any of this kind of imagery on my phone, but I'm probably going to take pictures of my kids doing everything. And I live on a river. I'm going to teach them how to swim in it. And it's like, I don't know. It's like, how are they going to be able to really differentiate it? There is a point where it's like, I just don't trust big tech anymore anyway to have
Yeah.
access to my phone. Even in Australia, we've seen they can now that
Oh
like the
gosh.
police can go into people's phones, delete stuff, change things, add things, manipulate stuff if you're just suspected of anything. It's like that. They can suspect anyone of anything and plant evidence. Like, how are we supposed to know what they're doing if they could do it without a warrant either, which is just crazy. So I want to hear what you have to think about this whole thing.
There's so much to unpack here,
Yeah,
right?
I know exactly.
There's a lot to unpack. So
Mhm.
before we say anything, let's just say, child sexual abuse material, child sexual exploitation is very serious.
Yeah.
And this is a crime that haunts victims and survivors for the rest of their life.
Mm.
And, um, you know, we always say it, but if for some reason this conversation at all just affects you in a way, if you're a survivor or if you know a survivor, like, please reach out to one of the hotlines, either the National Human Trafficking Hotline, the National Sexual Assault Hotline, RAINN, or the National Domestic Violence Hotline. So before we even, like, this is a very serious conversation. So before I get in, because this is one of those hot button issues that
Mhm.
has people very emotionally invested. Folks that aren't survivors are having a difficult time having compassion for survivors,
Yeah.
and folks that are survivors are a little are have a lot of emotions invested in this issue. So I think it's always good to just recognize survivors first when we have these conversations.
Yeah.
The next thing I want to point out, and I think that your audience will understand this, is look at, like, the Patriot Act.
True.
Stop and look at the Patriot Act. When you think about the Patriot Act, anytime there's going to be a grab for mass surveillance and a loss of privacy, they're going to wrap it in one of two things: terrorism or save the children.
Yep. True.
Those are the things they're going to wrap it in. They're going to wrap it in terrorism or save the children.
Mhm.
Keep in mind, I'm a full-time survivor advocate. I'm a survivor. I'm very compassionate about this, but what I'm not going to do is let a tech company or the government walk in and ruin privacy for everyone. So because I'm under the my new saying now is, in a world without privacy, no child is safe, no adult is safe, including survivors. No survivor is safe. So without privacy, no survivor safe and no child safe. So
That's a good
so
point.
let's start there. So Apple had announced out of the blue.
Hold on. Before you, I want you to explain that a little bit more. Explain why no child is safe. No trafficked victim is safe without privacy. Just to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that once folks that are disingenuous and have bad intentions have access to you and your device, they can find your private information where you're extremely vulnerable. And we know from data and statistics that those that have already faced sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking are more likely to be just groomed, manipulated by abusers again in the future.
Yeah.
So if someone like Apple or the government really wanted to find your spot where you have vulnerabilities or weaknesses, they could use that. And it's just not a good time to be playing with that. And also your private information, you want that veil of secrecy and privacy as a survivor. Of course, I want everyone to have it. But if I have a private conversation with my best friend about how I'm feeling just vulnerable, or maybe I'm feeling like doing self-harm, or maybe I'm feeling like using a substance to sort of tamper down my complex trauma, I want those conversations to be private.
Makes sense.
I want those conversations to be private. I don't engage in self-harm, and I don't use any type of substances, but I just want to be private as a survivor. Also, it wouldn't be beyond the pale for former abusers to get jobs in ways that they can find out. A lot of survivors have to leave town. They have to move towns. They have to change their name. We want to just keep that very, very private. If a survivor has to move away from their trafficker in the middle of the night, and we have to move that survivor sometimes even maybe out of the country to get away from their abuser, we do not want an abuser to ever be able to find them again, period.
Yep.
So these are the types of things I think about. I think about myself as an activist, as an advocate. There are a lot of people that want me dead, and I don't want.
Have you gotten death threats before?
Veiled, never direct.
Okay.
But I'm very aware and conscientious of everything, and my best friend's really good at kind of talking me off that when I think that people are going to come after me. She's like, I mean, the statistics and the likelihood of that happening, probably not so high. And now I'm public enough where it would be kind of a bigger deal if something did happen.
Right.
But there are definitely people. I mean, I've been doxxed. I've been doxxed multiple times. My family's been doxxed on Twitter.
Wow.
I've been through it. Yeah.
We need our privacy. That's really the bottom line. How do we? It almost feels like we need an internet bill of rights, something certainly a reformation of Section 230, because they hide behind it. I mean, look at Twitter, right? You are on your. I saw that eye roll. Yeah.
Before we go to Twitter, let's finish with Apple.
Please continue. Yeah. I'm bouncing around. Go finish up.
No, I'm the one that took it. Like I was like so before, but I want always survivors to know I'm not like just spitting this off and not thinking about them. So I always survivors, I'm thinking about them first. But when Apple made their announcement, it sort of came from out of nowhere. I had the word that they were going to announce that about 3 a.m. the night before they actually announced what they were planning on doing. Okay. They hit that child sexual abuse material scanning announcement sort of out of nowhere. And on paper, it looks good. On paper, It looks, anything to save the kids. It's not where the technology is. It's where it could go.
Right.
That's the problem. It's where it could go. So, and that is my greatest concern, is
Mhm.
where it can go. You do not want to have a situation where anyone from big tech or the government has access to anything, because then we get into a situation where if you post a meme that the government doesn't like,
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
then they could put a hash on it, send it back through. You never know. So,
Yeah.
and this is not so okay. So I'll tell you, Adam, you'll like this story.
Okay.
So at first, when Apple first announced it, I was like, my first gut instinct was like, something isn't right about this.
Right.
Something isn't right about this. It gave me a gut punch instinct, and I was like, this is not what we asked for. So back to the other conversation I was having before, I always push for big tech to remove child sexual abuse material, child sexual exploitation, and human trafficking at scale on the main. I'm never
Right.
asking to breach our privacy. This is
Right.
the first time I had ever heard of anything like this. So I was like, and this is what I had been warning my followers about for a while, like, watch, there's going to be a power grab. They're going to use child sexual abuse material. And so right away, when they made the announcement, I put my foot down. I said, no, this is not. And honestly, Adam, you would have been so proud of me, because this is like against the whole movement. I
Mhm.
basically stand against everybody I work with. I was like, made a public stand. I said no. And I felt freaking crazy out here. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to seem like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
You know, people are going to make fun of me. I'm going to be blacklisted. You know, I'm going to seem like I'm not really in it for survivors. People are going to look at me funny. And then sort of a couple days later and a couple hours later, people started coming out and speaking out against it. And it made me feel so much better, because
Yeah.
I just was sort of out here on a limb, and it was such a weird thing for me to take a hard no stance on. It was such a weird thing. It was
Right.
almost the opposite of what you would think. You would think I would be sitting there jumping for joy, having a freaking,
Yeah.
having a freaking party.
Well,
But
you mentioned the Patriot Act, and it's like the Patriot Act or the National Defense Authorization Act or For the People Act. All these things that, it's veiled underneath this thing. Well, but it's for the greater good. How could you be against Antifa? It's anti-fascist. Like, duh. And it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. But if you know what they're actually doing, what their true purpose of what they want to do, you would rethink it a little bit more. Obviously, I went to the extreme with the Antifa thing, but I mean, that's really what it is, right?
No,
It's
actually,
the same thing, right?
It's sort of it's a trick game. It's like a word play, and I think that I'm just not going 100%. Like,
Yeah.
Apple has had a horrible pattern of being there for children. They have a horrible pattern of slavery in their supply chain line. When they had a chance to remove Facebook from the App Store because of human trafficking, they actually didn't. They talked about it. They threatened them, but they didn't do it. They've actually only removed 2 apps from the App Store because of child sexual abuse material. I'm sorry, just 2 apps from the App Store because of child sexual abuse material. So I started speaking out about it. And I'm really grateful that I did that. And I'm grateful that I stuck to my guns. And I just tried to find out as much information as possible. It breaks my heart because I had to speak out against really powerful people and people that I work with very closely and people that I actually support on a normal basis. But this time I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And it was pretty cool because actually Edward Snowden noticed me speaking out, and he added my tweets in his article and one of my videos, and his article, I can honestly say, was the tipping point behind Apple putting the pause on it. There was so much of an outcry, and it made me feel so much better, Adam. I was like thinking I was going to be out here. There was such an outcry that they put a pause on it. But
good for you though, for standing up, because even though you got a little bit of backlash, it turns out like you were right. We can't trust these big tech people, corporations to have access to us. They have enough as it is. So
exactly. They have enough. Exactly. And to have that access, that being said, it is an issue that needs to be addressed.
Right.
But when I see them going for the full power grab, for the full, okay, we're going to have access to your phones, and they would have access to all of our devices, all the iCloud, and it's just not a risk I'm willing to take. It's just not. And so I have been speaking out about it, but I guarantee you, they are going to try to reinstate it again. So this is not over. They just temporarily put a hold on it.
Right. This is from BBC. Apple delays plan to scan iPhones for child abuse. It says that Apple said that it listened to the negative feedback and was reconsidering. All right. So it's like, that doesn't mean anything. That means their optics are everything. They're going to be like, all right, we're reconsidering, and everyone's like, oh, whew. And then they implement it in the dead of night, like, we're going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
It's for the children, right?
What the actual scoop, right? Always for the children or terrorism. What the actual scoop is that they had the new phone releasing, and they didn't want the bad press, because then they started getting so much horrific press. I mean, Edward Snowden pretty much kicked the door in, and he hasn't stopped with it. He went so hard on it that it was almost like they kind of had to. But since then, they have their new product that they're releasing, and they didn't want the bad press.
Right.
And that's why I think they actually put a hold on it. But at their product launch parties, there was so many protests that actually the protests, because of the spy phone situation, spy phone. That's what
I haven't even heard that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, it's hashtag iPhone is what we call it. But the only thing is, like, while we're having this conversation, and by the way, like, this is how they use things that can pull at your heartstrings. So they use these situations that pull at your heartstrings, like, oh, we need to stop terrorism. I mean, look at what they did with 9/11. And of course, 9/11 should pull at your heartstrings. That was a horrific day in America, of course. But when we see those horrific things happen, like child sexual abuse material and like terrorism, like what happened on 9/11, we are willing to do anything almost to make the pain stop.
Yeah.
And that's almost where I sort of see people do a huge power grab, is when your defenses are low, you're worn down, and all you want is the pain to stop and for someone to sort of pay, right?
Yep. It sounds like a lot of different things going on right now. You take a big look at the bigger picture, and it's like a lot of people are just want this all to go back to normal, just want it to end, just want to live their lives the way that they want to live their lives. And it's, I mean, you think about it, right? And there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot for me. I mean, I know that it's a lot. I just try to stay really busy. Yeah. That's the only way I can deal with it, because I know it's not going to go back to normal. So I've got to make the best with what I got at all times, and I haven't known you not in a COVID era, but
right.
I'm lucky, like you and I met each other in COVID era, but
true.
I'm really lucky, Adam, because I try to just look at the glasses half full, because like I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for that. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
not you. I mean, a lot of people.
Right, no, I get it though. I get it for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't know how much. I didn't know how much people needed a survivor advocate and a survivor out here, like just talking on Twitter all day and talking to people. And I didn't know how much people needed that, Adam. So honestly, I mean, COVID's a tragedy. Everything about it, the lockdowns, that's all the tomfoolery. But personally, as a woman, I don't think I would change the way that things have panned out. I just wish it didn't take a tragedy to get there.
Yeah, true. Well, I think a lot of people are waking up.
Yeah.
All these big tech companies are in trouble because
but I
mean, it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's a lot. All these different drastic changes are people are going, enough is enough. Like, you cannot control us on all these different fronts. I mean, the mainstream media is not reporting on the fact that there are mass protests in almost every country right now. I mean, at least over in Europe, in Canada, Australia, even here in America, like people are fed up with this stuff. People were out in New York protesting the mandates that, because in New York you can't even, you have to show your passport to do anything, and
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like everyone's like, well, what about polio? And I'm like, when was the last time you had to show a polio vaccine to go to grocery shopping? It's like it's not comparable. It's just there. I mean, I'm just a side. I'm gonna get me talking about this and maybe get in trouble. I can't even talk about this stuff, without getting hit on Facebook, because or on YouTube, every time I've ever, been blatant about my opinion on things, I've gotten a strike, and it's crazy. So I think people are fed up.
It's beautiful to see people stand up for their freedom.
Truth.
It's not just one political party. It's not just one race. It's not just one religion. We are seeing people around the world stand up for their freedom.
Yep.
And I think that it's beautiful to see. I wish it wasn't getting here, but we have to think about, the white pills that we could take about the whole thing. These globalists and these elites are so tragic and pathetic. They can't even hold on to their own narrative. If this is the best they got, we're good. We're really good. This is a tale as old as time. It never ends well for them. There are a lot more people like Adam and myself that value our freedom.
Very true.
And I just want to remind people, you got to pick the hill you're willing to die on. So like, I knew that the vaccine mandate was the hill that I was willing to die on.
Me
in
too.
my case. And so I prepared as such. I am also prepared if other things happen in the United States. And I'm not talking prepared like a prepper. I'm just prepared as a woman, and I guess as an advocate, and as a mini, I don't want to call it influencer, but as a mini person with a little bit of a platform on Twitter.
You are. No, you are. I'll say it. In that world, you are. Absolutely. You're the front lines, I think.
Thank you. I try to stay on top of it. I take it very seriously, and I try to have fun along the way too. But I am prepared for if what we're seeing that's going down in Australia goes down here in the United States. I have prepared for what I'm going to do with what I have now. And I would just really encourage folks, like, if it goes there, get ready. Like, get ready to know what you're going to do, play the movie forward, and figure out what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with.
Well said.
And there's nothing wrong with informed consent. And I would say that about sex as well.
There it is, right there.